Welcome to Buckets. Coming to you from the Tommy John Home Studios. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, and this is the Future Jays. Joe Dellera and Jim Turvey are here. They're going to join me and help me figure out some things about futures in the NBA. We'll talk about the Cavs tonight, talk about six-man, and I will drag Jim Turvey through the meat grinder that is Clutch Player of the Year as Jalen Brunson continues to be the most annoying human being on the planet for our portfolios. And Joe goes, rah, Knicks. We will also give you best bets for Monday, March 3rd in the association. We'll give you sides, we'll give you totals, and we'll give you some props so you can bet the association on Monday. Joe Dellera is on Twitter in the Action Network app at Joe Dellera and on the Cash That podcast, which you should definitely go listen to. Joe, are you on YouTube with that yet?
Yeah, we got it on YouTube. We're working on the channel, in case you want to watch me there too. But, we do the best that we can. So plenty of different ways that you can stream the content.
Jim Turvey is at Roto Grinders. You can catch his work there daily. Jim Turvey, you got anything you're cooking up?
The only thing I'll throw out is that just recorded a WNBA futures podcast over at Bet You Win. So keep your eye out for that as well. We are almost to W season.
We are almost to W season. All right, let's get into some futures talk. On Friday night, the Cleveland Cavaliers walked into Boston, got absolutely smacked in the face for about 18 minutes of game time, and then, they settled themselves down. And in the second half, the Boston Celtics shot 11 three-point attempts. That's it. Just 11 three-point attempts in the second half versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavaliers come from behind, storm back behind. Donovan Mitchell had a dunk that was, it was vicious. That was a turning point dunk. I will take that one over the Shaedon Sharpe dunk any day of the week. So sun's getting real low. We are deep into the season. And yet, somehow, your Cleveland Cavaliers are still, despite not locking, it seems very likely they're going to be the 1 seed with the lead that they have. It is, we are at, I think, 20 games remaining, and the Cleveland Cavaliers have an 8-game lead in the loss column for the 1 seed. That's pretty good. That seems like a pretty good situation to be in. So they're going to be the 1 seed. But we always we already kind of knew that, right? But one of the things that we said earlier in the season was hey, you should wait no matter what you want to bet, because if you want Boston, you're going to get a better number. And with Cleveland, you can wait to see if they get the 1 seed. Well, it looks like they're going to get the 1 seed. And yet they are still plus 600 to win the title. And at DraftKings, they are plus 205 to win the conference. Jim Turvey, do you feel like this is a moment that if you're going to add Cleveland, that this might be the one?
So before I answer your question, I'm going to do the annoying thing I do where I make you guys answer a quiz. So let's go. Hopefully you guys didn't both look at this right before we came on, but I want to go down the player EPM leaderboard. So can we guess who number 1 by EPM this season is for players?
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Is it Jokic or is it Shai?
You guys covered 1 and 2. It's Jokic 1, Shai 2. Can you guess who's number 3?
I knew this. Donovan's top 5, but I think it's is it Luka?
It's Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell is number 3 now by EPM. So when we frame this conversation, I kind of went down the board and I looked at EPM and BPM, and I did kind of a weighted average of the two, because Boston and Cleveland is what it's looking like. The Knicks, no offense to Joe, they have not stepped up in these big games. So if we are putting the highlight, we are focusing on these two teams. Let's really do it. Let's look at the best player. Let's look at the depth of talent. Let's look at the head-to-head, and let's look at how they do against some top teams. If we look at the top player, I think the working assumption would have been that Tatum is the best player in the series. I probably still give a tiny edge to Tatum. I think that edge is really small, especially given how well Mitchell has played against Boston this season. Now, if Tatum has played great against Cleveland, they've both been outstanding. It could be a great series if we do get these two playing at their best. But that's a conversation. I don't think before the season this was a conversation. If you go down the roster, if you go to the second best player, most people would say Jaylen Brown. The numbers certainly wouldn't say Jaylen Brown. Numbers would probably say Derek White. He's the 20th, 30th best player in the league. You've got Evan Mobley, who's around like the 15th best player. You've got Darius Garland, who's around the 19th best player. Suddenly the 2 and 3, if you don't believe the metrics on Jaylen Brown, there's a very serious conversation on the depth of star talent on these two teams as well. Then you go further down, even 6th player of the year, Peyton Pritchard. What's his average EPM, BPM? It's in that like high 30s, low 40s. Ty Jerome, he's sitting at 43rd by EPM. The Cavs have an answer for all of these. Best player, Spida equal to Tatum. 2nd and 3rd best player, Mobley and Garland equal to Brown and White. And just head to head, they have looked as good. The point differential between the two teams is 1 point across their 4 games this season. Last year, the big thing was Boston was, look at these numbers. The numbers are telling you Boston is amazing. Listen to these numbers. You know who that's saying it about this year? Cleveland. If you look at all the numbers against top 10 teams, Cleveland is 14-5 with a plus 8.6 net rating. Their offensive rating against top 10 teams in the league per clean the glass, 126. That's insane. Boston is second. Boston's outstanding. They're 11-7 against top 10 teams. That's very good. Plus 4.2. But it's not these historic numbers that were the reason that you shouldn't have talked yourself out of Boston last year. I'm talking directly to myself, who talked myself out of Boston last year and is now talking myself out of Boston again. But that's because now the team with the really pretty numbers I should have listened to is Cleveland. And if you just go by off of like, oh, best player, Spida's right there, depth of talent, it's Mobley and Garland. I think going down the line, it's very clear to me that this should basically be a pick 'em. I think these two teams are incredibly even. Cleveland's going to have home court, and the number is twice as long. To me, I if you are adding to your futures portfolio at this point, I just don't see how you don't add Cleveland at a plus 205, like you said, when I think this Cleveland team is every bit as legitimate as Boston.
I'll also say this, there's a plus 270 at FanDuel. So that's much better. If you want to know about the market movement, so a week ago, the Cleveland Cavaliers at FanDuel were plus 350. So this has moved 80 cents essentially on that game. That makes sense because it's like, one, Cleveland split the season series with Boston. Boston fans are going to scream to high heavens. They're going to scream to high heavens. No Drew Holiday, no Kristaps Porzingis, because every single team in the NBA is like, no. One of my guys was out. Doesn't count. One of my guys wasn't playing. As if no other team has injuries. The other thing I'll tell you is Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis since February 1st have negative on-court net rates. That is very telling to me. I am deeply worried about Drew Holiday in these playoffs. If they go down, it's going to be because of that. Now, Drew might shoot 43% from the corners and just have one more run in him, and it's going to be him, and it'll be awesome, and then he'll win another ring, and there'll be 3 rings for Drew Holiday, and I'm going to be like, damn, what a career. However, I think it's also possible that Drew Holiday struggles, and Kristaps Porzingis is obviously an injury risk all the time. Kristaps, I think, is like less of a... I worry less about his play, and I think it's more with Kristaps, more a matter of just happenstance and how they've been playing and some of the injury stuff. I think there are certain matchups where Kristaps really impactful. There's others where I'm less kind of interested in such. Joe, I need you to answer on this question, and I need you to do it without talking about the New York Knicks. You don't get to. You don't get to pivot. You don't get to refer. No. The Knicks are not in this conversation. How do you feel about the Cleveland Cavaliers right now as a title contender?
I mean, we've been talking about this and just saying that even from looking at the board, it makes more sense because of their path and the fact that they don't have to play what realistically would be a tougher matchup in the 2-3, assuming both the 2 and the 3 get through. And one of those teams is the Boston Celtics right now, and the other team is that team that must not be named from New York. So the other thing is, though, when you look at this, Boston's biggest edge to me is that they continue to shoot an absurd amount of threes. The problem is that when you play Cleveland also shoots an absurd amount of threes, and they actually have better three-point shooters. So I think that matters. Their percentages are higher, so they're a little bit more efficient. I don't know, like maybe in the playoffs where, some of the defense starts to lock down a little bit more, if Boston's edge just in terms of volume is a little bit more helpful than Cleveland's efficiency. But right now, when you look even over the course of the regular season, Boston's averaging 17.8 threes per game. Cleveland's second at 16.2. The next closest playoff team is Golden State at 15.3. Chicago's in there, but Chicago's an anomaly, right? But aside from that, if you go down to 10th, Miami's there, they're at 14. So there's a huge drop off really throughout the NBA, but Boston and Cleveland are both in the top. Cleveland being able to kind of neutralize that mathematical edge that Boston has, I think, leaned into arguably a little bit too much, because when you watch Boston, they do this thing like they just did against Cleveland where I understand the math portion. I understand the analytics aspect of it. And I'm not trying to say that I'm a better basketball mind than Joe Mazzulla. But the thing is, it opens you up to variance. It's just math, right? So like if you're going to take these shots that have a lower probability of going in, it's harder to hold a lead because you have the opportunity to not only have positive upswings where you build up these monster leads or you can make these monster comebacks, but you also have significant downside because you're taking lower percentage shots with lower percentage shooters. And I worry in the playoffs when you're playing a team like Cleveland who has an elite offense and an elite defense, if you're going to open yourself up to a lot of that variance, does that help you or does it hurt you a little bit more? And when I watched the game, even Boston today against Denver, at the end of the game, there were points where they kind of reverted to ISO ball, and like that's where Denver kills them. And I don't like Boston in that type of game plan. So if Cleveland's able to neutralize the threes and you're looking at Boston playing a lot of ISO, I would rather have Donovan Mitchell doing it than like pretty much anybody else on the floor. So to me, I think that Cleveland's a great buy right now, especially having split the series. And we're at a point where I don't really think Boston can catch them in the standings, barring something catastrophic happening to Cleveland.
The numbers for Boston in wins and losses are about what you would expect. Their 3-point rate's lower. Their 3-point conversion rate's lower. Their assisted conversion rate is much lower. You mentioned the matchup versus the Nuggets. The Nuggets lost that game because of their offense, because they don't have enough shooting around it. Their second half defense was the exact right game plan. They lost the plot for about 8 minutes to start that game, and that buried them in a hole they couldn't dig out of.
Yeah.
But second half, again, they limited 3-point attempts by the Boston Celtics. In the second half of that game, the Nuggets were able to contain their 3-point attempts. For me, it's not even about the variance. It's about if you make Boston do these other things, you can still lose because Jason Tatum's really good and Jaylen Brown's really good. And these guys, and this is a really good team and they can play good defense. Like, that's it. But they become mortal. They're just like another really good team if you take away their ability to annihilate you with the math.
Yeah.
That's what they want to do. If you dive into it, this is what Boston does. Boston is number 1 in 3-point rate. They're number 2 in opponent 3-point rate in terms of it being the lowest. It is, you are not going to take them, and we're going to take a lot. And it's all the catch and shoot disparity. If you stay home and you say, we're going to live with it, Jason Tatum, you're going to have an advantage. You're going to get a favorable matchup versus a smaller guy. Good luck to you.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe you'll be able to get Luke Cornett on a roll. Best of luck to you. Now, Celtics fans will be like, that's Kristaps Porzingis next time. And you're right. Maybe that's it. Maybe Kristaps Porzingis just averages 40 in the series in the post. Do I think that happens? No, I don't. Now, the problem is that Cleveland did give up over 53-point attempts in 2 of the matchups, and they lost both of those. So it's like, the thing here is Cleveland can beat Boston. I don't know if they will. I like the Donovan Mitchell side of this conversation. I like that part a lot. Like, there is a little bit of like, as good as Tatum is, and he is underrated because no matter how we talk about him, it's always like, yeah, but
well, there's
we don't want to give him the respect. Like, he's so accomplished. He's done so much, and he is. I asked this question about him the other day on Locked On NBA. I was like, the question with Tatum is, what's he elite at? Like, what's Jason Tatum elite at? Is he an elite pull-up shooter? No. Is he an elite spot-up shooter? Is he an elite scorer at the basket? Nope. Is he elite in the post? No. Is he an elite defender? Pretty close, but you wouldn't put him on like the list of like the top 10 guys. So it's like, what's Jason Tatum elite at? And the answer is nothing. But he is not below average anywhere. There's nothing that Jason Tatum.
I don't even know if he's average. I feel like I wouldn't even say he's really average at anything.
He's not average anywhere. He's above average everywhere.
He's elite at being everything and available. He doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, he's
and
always
he
available.
Contributes and takes nothing off the table. That is his elite skill.
He's elite at being corny though, because like he was celebrating like when they were up like 25-3, and there's like the meme already of Donovan Mitchell in the background watching him celebrate, and then Donovan being like at the end, let him know, like at the end when they win, because it's just it was too early.
I predictably am looking at the finals matchup because that's what I do. And the problem is like I don't know where to go. I don't know on the Western Conference side which way to go. So maybe the better move is just to go 270 on the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think the best time to bet this was before the last Celtics matchup, but I also think you needed to see that last Celtics matchup.
I think at this point you can actually wait till I don't think the number is going to get all that much shorter. There's not a head-to-head game between the two of them. They've pretty much locked in the 1 seed. The market would assume that. The market loves this Celtics team. It loved them all of last year. It's going to continue to love them this year. I don't foresee it getting a lot shorter. I think it came out of the All-Star break too long. Brandon and I talked about it on that podcast. That was my final bet for that podcast, was grab Cavs now. Then they played. It moved. I don't know. At least I don't see another way in which we get a big move on Cleveland.
The only way I think that there's a move is if Milwaukee drops to 6. That's the only way. Because if Milwaukee drops to 6, they're out of that side of the bracket, and you're looking at a potential path of like Indiana, Detroit, Orlando. like that's what it could look like. That's when the number drops. But I don't even know. I don't know if that would necessarily even swing it. And like that might be so close to the playoffs that you can just buy in anyway.
I actually want to go a little bit further here because here's I just kind of realized this. If the Cavs don't lose to Boston, I want Cavs. I want them versus the Thunder.
You're saying you want them against the West?
Yeah. I think I definitely. And here's the other one. If we're gonna look at winter specials, East West right now is even. It's minus 110 both ways at DraftKings. I want the East.
Yeah, I think the East has two top teams.
I would take Celtics Boston over the West because I am so terrified of OKC getting caught, and I know how good they are. But also, like, it seems to me much more likely we're gonna have that random ass team, whether it's the Warriors with this Jimmy Butler nonsense, or the Lakers with the number 1 defense because of Jackson fucking Hayes, or some team is gonna make a run in the Western Conference, and then we're gonna wind up with like that's the finals. And, the executives would be thrilled if it was Lakers. Executives would be thrilled if it was the Warriors. But also, I think the Cavaliers smashed them. I think they are not even in the same league as the Cavaliers. The only team I'm worried about with Cleveland is Boston. So if I'm saying that there's value, I gotta bet this plus the title odds here.
Do you think if we get something crazy like Cleveland, LA, that like? What would that number be? Would it actually be Cleveland heavily favored, or we get a chance to just bet it and have even way more information at that point?
I think the problem would be like if it was LA, for example, that means that like the Luka LeBron thing is absurd.
Yeah,
like it is insane, and because like there's no way you're making it through the West unless they're incredible together. Which like there are obviously signs that they can be incredible together, but to go through the playoffs, I think you'd have the evidence saying this team is absurd right now as currently composed. So I don't think that you would get a great number just based on the fact that it's LeBron and Luka on the other side.
Yeah, it might be like last year where everyone talked themselves into them. I'll take that back. The public talked themselves into the Mavericks, and this was one time when I was very grateful to be on the betting side because everyone in the betting space was like, "You're all out of your minds.
Yeah,
we were all out of your minds. We are betting the shit out of the Celtics."
Yeah,
like every game was the Celtics took money. 700 is the number for the Cavs to win the title at FanDuel. Might have to add that. Maybe I'll do a Cavs over Lakers exacta. Maybe that's what I'll add.
I like that. Go exacta, because I think that my favorite way to play is still just Cavs to come out of the East because there's so much unknown in the West. I
think you have more respect for the Western Conference than I do.
I definitely do.
My thing is that it's not that I don't respect the West. My thing is that they're all very good. None of them are great except OKC, and OKC's young. Like all of these teams have major, major tactical flaws. All of them. Like, there's not a team in the West that I'm just like, yeah, I mean, they may not be good enough, but they're like really solid overall. They're going to at least. Here's the thing. There's not a team outside. Okay. I can't even say OKC. I'm genuinely can't because I'm too worried about the matchup stuff. There's no team in the Western Conference that I'm like, they are absolutely 100% winning a first round series. There's not one.
Wow.
Like, if OKC gets Dallas, I am going to be nervous as hell for OKC. Like, I want good things for OKC. That scares the shit out of me. Anthony Davis with Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively or both, that size with Kyrie, with how that matchup has gone.
That is the nightmare matchup for them.
That's a nightmare matchup.
Well, and I'll tell you this, like, the Thunder don't think so. Like, the Thunder kind of think, like, because Luka's gone, I think this is not known. I think OKC feels very confident that they can get by.
I feel like if they didn't, they would have made a trade.
Yeah. If it's Minnesota, that's a little concerning for me for OKC. Right?
That one wouldn't stress me as much.
And then and then Minnesota, and then like on down the line, it's just like if LA is going to be in the 2 seed tonight, I think LA probably drops because we've just seen this. The Rockets were 2 seed and then they fell off. The Grizzlies were 2 seed, they fell off. The Nuggets were 2 seed, they've fallen off. And now the Lakers are here. They'll fall off, and we'll have some random team. Maybe the Clippers will wind up.
Clippers. The Rockets will be back in it.
Yeah, now I'm interested to see what this number is on the Cavaliers. Cavaliers over Nuggets is 40-1. Cavs to beat Lakers is 45-1. Let's go ahead and I'll log that one in the Action Network app. All right, let's talk about real quick. Let's talk clutch player of the year. So we thought we had this one covered. We really did. Like, we thought we nailed this. Jim Turvey. This is the Jim Turvey Award, and it was fine, and everything was good. And then Jalen Brunson, because the Knicks can't put away bad teams and they're irresponsible, Jalen Brunson goes on this run, and now he's the favorite, Jim.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to cut Joe's mic, Joe's camera, Joe from Future Jays. This is pure nightmare fuel. This ticket was so nice to start the season. This Jokic 35-1 came out of the shoots just firing. Was big minus money, and it's like, all right, so let's he's got a good position, but let's keep our eye on people as they pop their heads up. We got that Trey half court winner. You and I were like, all right, let's get on Trey. He's got a ton of clutch points. Now he's got a moment or two. Felt really good about this award. What happened in the last week is you're right. The Knicks can't put teams away, and Brunson is going Superman. I don't think this is the time to chase on this. I realize he is the favorite right now. Feels there's a lot of momentum with him right now. I don't think he should be the favorite. Trey still has the lead if we look in terms of clutch points by a decent margin. It's 140 to 120.
No,
if you look at what's that?
8 points because of Brunson today.
Jesus Christ, are you kidding me, dude?
Yeah, it's 140,
so stupid.
140 to 132.
Yeah, because they went to overtime again, didn't they?
Yeah, and he scored like every point. Like,
I hate this so much. This is my nightmare. This is live reacting to an fucking nightmare. Anyways, I will maintain that Trey has the lead, technically, I guess, still by 8 points. And then if you look at, and this is probably now update too, but there's a really cool website, Unpredictable, that has a clutch player of the year tracker where Jokic still, at least before today, had the lead in that. Joe's live fact checking me here to see if that has come through. Brunson is number 2 on that, with LeBron surprisingly number 3. So, if this goes down as Brunson just does it because the shitty Knicks can't put teams away, I'm gonna have to tip my very begrudging cap and walk away. But I don't want to chase with Brunson right now. It feels very much in the moment. It might be that he ends up doing it, but to be chasing at a minus, is it even fully minus now, Matt, or is it like
minus 280?
This is insane.
Yeah, I mean the steam is like fully there. Like I mean, honestly, like if now would be the time that you should bet somebody else, like literally anybody else, like if that's the way that you think about it. But like I think it's probably a little bit of an overreaction. But at the same time, New York is just also not like they're not going to win another. There's no other award to give to somebody on the Knicks, and you're going to look at it and go, well, we like Brunson. Like
I don't want to do this. games that are inside 2 points or less in the final 5 minutes. Jalen Brunson leads all scorers with 78, and he's plus 46, a league best.
Ugh. It came so fast. We had this
It's
perfect
like-
portfolio.
Yeah, it was like I don't know. I hadn't even thought about Brunson. Hadn't
Yeah.
even thought about it. And to Joe's point, they are 16-7 in these clutch games, so like they are winning
Yeah.
them because they're in games they shouldn't be in the first fucking
Yeah,
play.
being clutch games against the Bulls and the Heat. Congratulations.
Yeah, good
Hey.
job.
That's what happens.
Yeah, here's the here's the other one. Oh man, yeah, he's gonna win, Joe. He's gonna win.
I have like a degenerate homer ticket that I like could never recommend because I was like, I'm just gonna bet this. Like
Here's
I have
a,
free bet. It's expiring.
Yeah, but you also have like a Karl Anthony Towns MIP. You have so many DGen tickets. You can't lap this one.
here's
we hashtag it with account health, you know?
here's a killer, Jim. Inside 2 minutes in a 2-point ball game, Jalen Brunson has 53 points. Tyrese Maxey is second with 38.
Tell him
He
the
has
shooting percentage. Tell him the
15
shooting
more.
percentage, Matt.
He's shooting 74% in the last 2
So
minutes.
stupid.
It's insane.
That's
He's
wild.
9 from 3, and he's 8 of 9 from the line, and plus 37.
That's actually ethical hoops too, because Maxey's 38, 21 are from the line. So that's a lot of fouls. Like you're getting fouled.
Joe is way too happy right now for my entire
I know,
portfolio going up in
miserable.
flames.
It's so bad because what's funny is like it's all just gonna come crashing back down when Brunson like goes. You know that he's just gonna absolutely choke up in the playoffs. Like
yeah, but the award will be done.
Yeah, you'll win it. You'll win it. You have the tickets. All right.
No, we got Mitch back. It's great.
And then so Jim says don't bet clutch player, and I have to agree.
Don't chase the steam.
Yeah, you can't chase it.
It was a pretty moment we had.
Yeah. 6-man of the year. I want to hit this quickly. Peyton Pritchard has been on a really bad run. He had a good game versus the Nuggets on Sunday because the Nuggets bench is really literally one of the worst in the NBA. Malik Beasley has moved to plus 180. That's my tastiest CLV sandwich of the year is going to be Malik Beasley. He's going to come up short. But very quietly, DeAndre Hunter is making a big difference in Cleveland. He's been absolutely terrific for them, Joe, and he's plus 700. What do you think about 6-man of the year right now?
My concern with 6-man of the year, especially with the Cavs now, is that like is DeAndre Hunter really their best 6-man? Like isn't Ty Jerome better? And you know he like
this
DeAndre
is some lawyer ass bullshit from the man with 100-1 on Peyton Pritchard.
Matt, you're
Ladies and
gonna
gentlemen of the jury, I ask you. Is DeAndre Hunter even the Cavs' best 6-man?
Should just be starting. But no, I do think that the concern with Cleveland is you have to wonder like if they are really far up, are they going to ease off the gas a little bit? Are they like how worried are they about having the best overall record in the NBA? I think that's a concern. But Malik Beasley has been ridiculous. I don't know. I texted you guys earlier today, and I was debating whether or not I wanted to buy a little bit of DeAndre Hunter because he was around like plus 900 a little bit out there. Now we're seeing plus 700, plus 750. And I think it's in part because he started today. Like, so he had a good game. So I'm not like super interested in buying him. I feel like I haven't been all year. I want to make sure that I round out the portfolio, but to me, I think it's Malik Beasley. It makes a lot more sense. And then honestly, if Boston says, well, like we're cool with being the 2 or the 3, we're going to rest a bunch of guys. Pritchard's probably going to get a lot of run at the end of the season. And because they're going to say, we need him to get in shape. We need him to get confident. We're going to just let him go burn it up and get 20-point games and pop up his stats.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually just grateful that this number has come back because I'm like, that's where I'm at is I've reached like, all right, I'm going to take like a lower number on Pritchard and just kind of buy out here because I surrender to the Boston Mafia.
They have like the best social squad too. Like the
Well,
edits are awesome. They put out there like they've been on
why
a
it
media
kills
tour
me
all
that their
year for him.
fans- It's why it kills me that their fans accuse there to be like this anti. I'm like, you have so many people. It's not just the Ringer. Like, you have so many people with Boston ties in national media. You have so many. I know them. I've spoken with them. I've hung out with them. I've gotten drunk with them. I'm telling you. Like, I know. But yeah, so Jim, I just think I'm at the point of just like, fine. It's annoying to me. It breaks all the records and all the kind of like identity of stuff, but it just feels like everybody wants to give it to Peyton Pritchard. So I am surrendering on this.
That's really funny you came to that conclusion, because even though Joe was just deliriously happy over my burnt up ticket, I actually am joining Joe on the Pritchard that I originally missed, because I think this is the best that Pritchard has looked in a while portfolio wise to add, because we got that really nice Beasley. And I know Hunter had that big game today. Before today, though, he was averaging 13.7 points per game in Cleveland on, I think this is the key number, 8.6 field goal attempts a game in Cleveland. There's just not that, like, today was an awesome game that he had. I don't think those games are going to be it's going to be few and far between. Even today, he only had 15 field goal attempts. He's not going to have the usage there to be able to put up the big numbers. So I actually do think, I agree, if you got the Malik Beasley, but you missed out on the Pritchard, which is where I'm sitting, I'm going to add a little bit of Pritchard and kind of like you said, Matt, just like, all right, I'm going to basically end up, maybe slightly positive, because thanks to that tasty Beasley ticket. And I want to cover my ass against Boston media, but Hunter is one that I'm not worried about today, and I'm not going to be adding to the portfolio.
Yeah, there's a Pritchard ticket out there at -110 on MGM for 6 man, which, like, that's basically looking at this saying, well, I'd rather grab him now, and then assume like Beasley's running as hot as he could possibly run right now. So like, you have the Beasley ticket, you could buy a Pritchard ticket, and you could kind of even still, like, maybe if you really wanted Hunter, even though I don't really think that you need to, you could probably try to do something with that too. But the idea is to make this the portfolio. We've kind of narrowed it down.
Wells Rookie of the Year, Pritchard 6 Man of the Year, Jalen Brunson clutches plus 1041 at FanDuel.
I love that you will go down with the Jalen Wells ship.
He's so good. I don't understand. By the way, interesting kind of element in the. I did want to note this, and we'll talk about it next week. Have you guys looked at DPOI?
Yes, I have, actually. I saw that move like this morning, with Mobley moving to being like, because he wasn't the favorite like 2 days ago, and now he's like a decent minus number, and Jaren's like plus 200, I think, out there. So
I think that's the way we all thought it was gonna to swing of the two. I believe. I hope I'm not misremembering now, but the portfolio just looked better for Cleveland and their defense than Memphis.
Yeah. That's weird, because Memphis has been closer with schedule adjusted. Like, Memphis is facing weaker teams and having worse defense. It's really annoying. So I also would probably tell you, like, I think Jaren Jackson is probably a good price right now, plus 250. I think it's probably a pretty good price, but Lou Dort's still the best at 10-1, I think. Okay, we're gonna do best bets for the Monday slate in the association. First, let you know, if you're listening to the show, you probably like betting as much as we do. And then when it comes to betting, there are two things we're always trying to do: make it easier and make it more profitable. That's why we partner with Edge Boost, the financial platform that pays you cash back to wager. Edge Boost is an online bank account that pays you for every deposit, because with the Edge Boost Visa debit card, you get up to 0.5% back on all your sportsbook, daily fantasy site, and casino transactions. That's free money back in your pocket just for doing what you're already doing. It's a no-brainer. If you're listening to the show, you know how important it is to have accounts at different books, and you want to be able to move your money in between and not have it hung up by transactions or questions. And that's why this card in particular is great for you. It's not some credit card gimmick. You can open your own Edge Boost debit card account. I did. It makes it even easier to deposit into all of these accounts that you're using, including FanDuel, DraftKings, etc. No catch, no hidden fees, no minimum balance requirements, none of that. And if you've ever had a casino transaction that was flagged because they thought it was suspicious or whatever, or been given the runaround when you're trying to fund a sportsbook account online, the Edge Boost debit card is the perfect tool. It starts with a $250,000 daily limit, and you'll never be declined for gambling activity. It's why you're going to be so happy if you open an account. Make your betting life easier and stop leaving money on the table. Visit edgeboost.bet to sign up. Edgeboost.bet. And if you use promo code BUCKETS and deposit $25, you'll receive a $25 deposit match plus tier 2 status for faster bank deposits and more cash back. That's edgeboost.bet, promo code BUCKETS. All right, let's get to best bets in the association for Monday. Go around the horn. Joe Dellera, what are your bets for Monday?
I like Mark Williams over 28.5 PRA, and I'm going to be looking for Davion Mitchell over points plus assists. I think it's going to be like 13.5 when it opens. I'm going to like that over against the Washington Wizards. And for those that don't know, he plays for the Miami Heat.
What's your like ROI this year on units just on Mark Williams prop bets?
It's really good because we hit a 23-1 top scorer the other day, so that helps too.
Yeah, when the Action app does like the Action Wrapped, you just need to have Mark Williams's face just pop up.
I need him and Cat like just next to each other. Like, yeah. They're on my Mount Rushmore this year.
I've lost all 3 times that I've bet Mark Williams.
All right, well, let's not do it today.
Jim Turvey, what are your best bets for Monday?
I'm going Miles Bridges under 25.5 points plus assists, and I've got 2 leans for spreads. I'm going to take the Detroit Pistons minus 9.5 and Portland Trailblazers plus 3.5.
All right. I want Mavericks minus 1.5, and I want the Heat team total over tomorrow. Those are the 2 that I've got lined up. Joe, let's just run through the Mark Williams one real quick.
Yeah, so I mean, the Hornets are playing the Warriors, who are a little bit of a smaller team, especially just in terms of what the personnel is. When these 2 teams played about a week ago, he had 24 PRA. He only played 25 minutes, but he had kind of been easing his way back in a little bit after the rescinded trade. Now we've seen him play basically like over 30 minutes in back-to-back games, just played almost 35 minutes last game against the Washington Wizards. When he's played at least 20 minutes, we're hitting this at about 50% of the games, averaging 31.1 PRA per game. I like adding in the rebounds and the assists. Even though he missed this line against Golden State, he still had 12 rebounds, didn't have any assists in that game. However, they have been allowing a lot of assists to the center position. I think this is a good spot. Mark Williams has also been dishing a decent amount this year. He's averaging 2.3 assists per game, averaging 2.3 specifically over his last 10 as well. So I like the combo stat for him. He's always able to kind of pick it up pretty quickly. And even though Golden State, they've defended the rim and defended the paint decently well, Mark Williams, I think, is a little bit of a matchup problem for them. So I like over 28.5 PRA.
Okay, I'm not going to tail it because I want good things for you. So I'm just going to like let the people make the money, and that's fine. Let's go to Charlotte, and let's talk about Miles Bridges under. I was curious on this one, Jim. Miles Bridges under 25.5 points and assists. What's your play on that? What's your handicap?
Yeah, so we've got LaMelo Ball back, not on the injury report. You know, he's been questionable on almost every injury report, so he's fully going tomorrow. Miles Bridges' usage and assists both. It makes sense. They both really plummet with LaMelo on the court. Golden State, yeah, Joe talked through, the matchup being, not perfect defensively for Mark Williams, but defensively overall, the Warriors have been really excellent since Jimmy came to town. They've been the 3rd best defense since Jimmy came to town. When Miles played them last week, he went for 9 points on 2 of 11 shooting, one of his worst games this season. But really, this is the LaMelo of it is pretty key. Joe cooked these numbers up for me, but with LaMelo on the court, he's gone under this 25.5 points and assists in 19 of 30 games, and then in 17 games with LaMelo on and Brandon Miller off, he's gone under in 12 of 17. So he doesn't have Miller to pass to. He doesn't have the ball as much with Ball out on the court. So I'm going to take the under points plus assists in a pretty tough defensive matchup for him.
Always glad to go under on Miles Bridges.
And that is an added benefit of this bet.
Who should not be in the National Basketball Association. I want the Dallas Mavericks here, shorthanded still, So some of this is just like you can get kind of a sense for the identity of teams will still have certain elements, and the Mavericks have still held to a certain degree when they're not facing elite squads. And this is the Sacramento Kings without Domantas Sabonis. When I do downgrades for each of these teams, I still come out with the Mavs here by multiple possessions, and it's only -1.5. So if you look at on the season, the Mavericks are 54% against the spread at home. The Kings are only 41% ATS on the road this season. I see no reason why this should be effectively not a pick 'em, but just like a slight Mavericks lean without Domantas. They do not have enough supporting structure. An easier defense, which this Kings team is great for a Mavericks team that still plays pretty good defense and still has has a fair amount of weapons. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to go with the Mavericks, who are 58% against the spread at home this season. I'm going to go with them in this spot here. I'm going to lay the 1.5. Let's do Davion Mitchell over 16.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
Yeah, so if you can get, there's a 16.5 for PRA if that's all you can get, but I think if you can get 13.5 points plus assists, it like whenever that pops. We're recording this right now. There's no lines. Miami's on a back-to-back. And I think that's where this is going to be. I like that a little bit better. The rebounds have been a little bit more variable for him. But the big thing is that the minutes have been really, really there over the past couple of games. He played 38, 37, 37 the last 3 games. And even over his last 10, he's averaging pretty much over like 30 minutes a game. And that's with a couple before this kind of upswing took place where he was at about like 17 and 20. Miami really needs a little bit more creation in their offense right now. And Davion Mitchell has been doing that for them. This is a great opportunity for him. He's an excellent defensive player, but he's finally getting some opportunity to see extended run. The offense is starting to kind of gel a little bit more for him. And when we look at this matchup, he gets to play the Washington Wizards, who are obviously a very poor defensive team. I do think that his ability to run some of these pick and rolls, he's finding the right players. He's getting a couple dump offs, not only just Bam Adebayo, but also Khalil Ware, who should have an awesome matchup as well here. I think this is a good spot for Davion, especially too, if Miami does sit anybody on the back end of a back-to-back. Mitchell's probably one of those players that doesn't sit and could see a little bit more usage, could see a little bit more of an uptick for him. So I like the fact that he could score in the paint. I like the fact that he could score from beyond the arc with his 3-ball, and the fact that he can dish to a variety of different teammates against this pretty porous Washington defense. So I like over 13.5 points plus assists. And if you can't get that, 16.5 PRA is fine as well.
I'm going to pivot here, and our producer David should pivot here real quick for me. I was going to take Heat team total over, but I was looking at some numbers, and actually the better angle here is just the combined over. I'm going to take the over 221 in Wizards and Heat. Miami's offense with Davion Mitchell has been really good. That's actually still kind of the strongest part of it. And I think the Heat defense is being a little overrated. Meanwhile, the Wizards have actually been more of an opponent team total under. There's been kind of an an underestimation of the Wizards defense. But I do think the Wizards are actually going to be able to score in this spot. I've got both teams projected for an over on the team total. So I want to go ahead and take the over combined and not pick which one it's going to be, because it wouldn't necessarily shock me if the Wizards hang in here, because I think the Wizards hit a very low point and are kind of digging themselves back out. So matchup wise, I actually don't mind this with the way that the Wizards run offense. So I'm going to take the combined total 221 and a half for my last bet. Jim, let's talk about Detroit -9.5.
Yeah, so Pistons have been great on the road all season. They've been the best team against the spread on the road all season. They're good against bad teams. Utah is said a bad team. Now, Utah does go out and cover a fair amount of games, but a lot of those covers actually come against fellow bad teams. Against the really good teams, they aren't quite as good. But I'm really interested with this, and the reason this is a lean and not a full play just yet is I want to wait on the injury report, because Utah sat a whole bunch of guys today. This is going to be the back end of a back-to-back for them. And they have a bunch of bad teams coming up the rest of the week. And what Utah has been doing is playing their good players against the good teams so they can still lose, and then benching those players against the bad teams so they can lose even against the bad teams. So I think there is a chance that they will play all their players. So I don't want to play this Detroit number yet. But what my dream is that the Utah players play. Utah is still not a very good team. I hope that number moves into something like the 6.5 range, and then I can grab that Detroit number at like around that 6.5, 6 number. That is the dream here. We will see if the market calculates that in, but it's more of a lean. If they sit their players, all their players, and we get 9.5, I would hit that. Or if they play all their players and we get like a 6.5. The only way we don't get this is if the market already assumes they're all playing and this stays at 9.5, then I won't want that.
I think I'm gonna try and fiddle this. I think I'm gonna take the 10.5 and then come back if it moves. And then if they're all out and it stays 10.5, I think I'll just buy out of it.
That's not a terrible idea.
Not crazy.
I think that's going to be the move because I make this 8.7. If we don't factor in Jazz home court, Jazz has been pretty good at home ATS, and it's always a tough spot. This is a one-off for Detroit, isn't it? Is Detroit on a multi-game road trip?
Not 100% sure.
Let's look that up.
They are on the road. No, they're playing. They just started a road trip, I think. Yeah, they were home yesterday, and now they start a road trip.
It's fair to start in the altitude than finish it, but still, it's going west altitude. I kind of like the Jazz here against the spread at the 10.5 mark, but then come back in if it moves. I like that move. I think we'll do that.
I can agree to that.
And then finally, this will play into our parlay for the night. But Jim, tell me why you like Portland plus 3.5.
Yeah, so Portland has been a really elite defense. The past 15 games are the number 3 defense, but even if you go back to the start of the calendar year, they've been the number 5 defense in the NBA. It's been amazing. It's been one kind of the underrated stories of this second half of the season here is how good that Portland defense really has been. Philly has been really rough against top defenses, and it's fair to count at this point Portland as a top defense. Philly, we've seen they're talking about Maxi's hand. Maxi's off a really bad shooting performance. They did get a win to break their really long losing streak against Golden State over the weekend. This is still a team that Embiid is now done for the season. We know what they're trying to do. They're trying to hold on to that pick. They're not going to be motivated to play guys. Paul George is questionable right now. I would be not surprised whatsoever if he doesn't play. And I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see some guys getting shut down in future games as well. But in terms of this direct matchup, Portland has been really, really strong defensively, like I said, and good against spread. They're also, without DeAndre Ayton, they're basically like a 500 team. If you look at their record for the season, he's now likely done for the year. And I think they're going to keep floating at that like way better than the market assumes type of number. So when you put, one of the teams that is clearly undervalued by the market against a team that somehow is still overvalued by the market, despite showing us time and time again how bad they've been this season. It's a perfect little spot to grab the points here and maybe even go up to a money line, which I think you're going to talk through.
On principle parlay. Just on principle. We're going to bet the Portland Trail Blazers plus 136 versus the Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers just don't deserve this respect. They don't. They just do not deserve this respect. So we're going to go ahead and take the money line on this at plus 3.5 and just say that the Portland Trail Blazers have a good chance of winning this game outright. We're going to pair that with the Miami Heat. Thought about the Warriors, but we're not. It's minus 625. It doesn't help us enough for the risk involved. Thunder are minus 575. We think that's too steep versus the Rockets. The Rockets are plus 10.5 tomorrow, which even with their injury report seems like, boy, that's a lot. That's a lot. We're just betting into an uncertain circumstance. We didn't talk about it.
We didn't. Okay, I'm nervous about the Heat. I think the Heat are really bad. I'm nervous about this. This honestly. Can we go back to the Warriors? The Heat, I think, are legit bad.
Okay. I think you could swap Warriors and the Heat, I think, in this and be okay.
We move from 189 to 173.
Okay.
I think it's okay.
I don't love that.
I'd pay 16 cents to get the Warriors instead of the Heat.
But it's the Wizards, Jim. They have 11 wins on the year.
They're bad.
You were just saying that they've been playing better lately too, though. A back-to-back from Miami.
Well, you know what I want to do is I want to put the Grizzlies in here, but your fucking Atlanta Hawks will mess it up.
Yeah, they definitely will.
Yeah, the Hawks will definitely mess them up for sure.
Can't do Mavericks. We can't put the Mavericks in a parlay without AD or Derek Lively or Gafford. And Pistons is minus 455.
Oh, what about Pistons?
Oh yeah, Pistons should win.
Because it's good either way, even if the Utah guys, because Utah will play just enough guys to lose that game.
All right, we're adjusting this again. My thanks to David Payne for his
thanks, David.
We're workshopping this. We're gonna do a three teamer, and we're gonna do Blazers, Warriors, Pistons at DraftKings. That's plus 233 money line.
I dig it.
On principle. I was gonna do the Heat on principle versus the Wizards, but Jim is not willing to go with
I can't do it.
So that's your best bets for Monday in the association. Joe Dellera likes Mark Williams over PRA, Davion Mitchell over 16.5 PRA, or the points and assists if you can find it in the market. Jim Turvey likes Miles Bridges under 25.5 points and assists. He leans on Detroit minus 9.5. We'll wait to see if there is a better value on Detroit if the Jazz players are playing. And he likes Portland plus 3.5. Our on principle parlay is Warriors, Blazers, Pistons. What could go wrong? Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us. My thanks to David Payne for sticking with us and adapting this. All of our picks are in the episode description on YouTube or in the podcast. You can find a quick slip link. You click on that. It's going to take you so you can tell the bet right from there. You can bet it right from there. So make sure to check that out in the episode description. My thanks to Brady Rubino and Gifford Gould for getting us up at youtube.com/The Action Network. Hope you guys have yourselves a great week. Bet stream on Tuesday night. So be sure to tune in for that. And we'll talk to you guys again next time. Thanks for joining us. Till then, let's get buckets.